All right. So I wanted to do a video on the new bipartisan infrastructure bill that just got passed and stuff. It's been interesting because people have been talking about how it's been, bipartisan and both sides of the aisle have done it, and it's like a great thing, or whatever. But I was kind of curious to see. So I went ahead and, as an individual, I did my own research and stuff because I think it's important for each individual to think for themselves and everything. So I'll go ahead and show you what I've found. So basically, I was curious to know, like, what the definition we need to establish what the definition of bipartisan is. So, and to show you that, like, I'm not hiding anything on my computer or whatever, I'm going to refresh all the links and everything. And so that you can do this at home yourselves, all of this stuff. And I'll leave the links down below at the end of this video. But anyway, so I typed in, I'm using DuckDuckGo as a search engine on Firefox right there. So I typed in bipartisan definitions. So let's go with the Webster definition. Relating to or involving members of two political parties. Okay, so that basically just means that if one Democrat or one Republican votes on a bill, then it's bipartisan. So by that definition, it just means they need to have one person of each political party voting on the same bill, and that's what that definition means. Okay, but when I think of bipartisan, I think of a significant majority of both political parties voting on the same bill. That's the definition that I think of. Your definition might be different, but okay. So anyway, we've established the definition of it. All right, so, and you can see that, like, they're actually talking about it and stuff as bipartisan because I typed it in just bipartisan bill and everything. These are the results I got, and let's see. Let's just watch a little clip.
The House has voted on something, and the news more specifically is they have finally passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, a cornerstone for all these many months.
Okay, so yeah, so that was this is NBC, and again,
news right now on Capitol Hill, where the Senate just passed the $1 trillion infrastructure bill this morning with strong bipartisan support.
Strong bipartisan support, and also to know that I'm not curating my YouTube or anything. I am not signed in at all. This is just basic vanilla YouTube, and I'll go ahead and go to the basic website right now. So this is just the basic web page because I clicked on YouTube. Do it again just to show you. Yep, same thing. All right, so I was curious to know too about who actually voted and how many votes got it to make it bipartisan. So apparently, so let's go to congress.gov and stuff. And so here's the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And you can go to this, you can check all the legislation and stuff. So I went down and I checked the votes in the House. This is what the last thing was needed to get this bill to present to the president, become law. So the votes were 228 to 205. So let's go ahead and check that out. And this will tell me exactly how many Democrats and Republicans. So we had 220 yays from the Democrats, nays. 205 of the nays are from Republicans. All right, so, and then this way you can tell, like, who specifically in your state voted for it or anything. But they're saying that 13 Republicans voted for it and stuff, so I went ahead and just typed it in. I'll go here again. Hang on, I'll go back. So I typed in 13 Republicans vote for infrastructure bill, and then I found a source here on CNN, trust it or not, shows all the names and everything. So here's the 13 ones that voted for it. And so I was curious to see which states these all are and stuff. And so what I ended up doing is I looked at an election map of 2020 to see how it corresponds to where the Republicans are. So a lot of them were in New York. So New York. There's a lot of Illinois. There's Pennsylvania, New Jersey. There's Nebraska. But a lot of these I'm seeing are from blue states and stuff. And So just to show you where they voted in the last election. So there's a lot of people from New York voted. That's a blue state. Pennsylvania was a blue state. West Virginia, there's one in there. That's actually red. That was actually a red state. And then there was one in Alaska, which is a red state and stuff. So, but majority of these being from blue states. So you can probably think that these are more moderate Republican, or your definition of moderate Republicans or whatever. But anyway, so so people are touting this as being bipartisan and stuff on the news, as I showed you earlier and stuff with those videos. But I was curious to see, out of the 13 of these, how much of a percentage that was. So in this, hang on, I got to look up the House Reps. I'm just going to go to Wikipedia real quick. You can trust that source you want. I just need the number of people in the hundreds. The current thing of Congress is 117th. So it says over here, as you know, there's 435 of those total House members. So this is the number I'm looking for. So out of the 213 Republicans in the House, 13 of them voted for this bill. So now let's just do a little bit of math to see the actual value of that. So we're going to do 13 divided by 213 total. And we got about a little over 6%. So to me, only having 6% of Republicans voting on a bill, to me personally, does not fit my definition of bipartisan or whatever, because only having a 6% of that party voting for this bill, that's because in order to fit their definition of bipartisan, only one Republican has to vote on this bill. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's just show you that value too. So 1 divided by 213 equals a little bit, not even 1%, like a little bit, like 0.5% and stuff. So that's kind of scary and stuff. When now you look at the value. Okay, so now let's take the 213 divided by the actual 435 of it. And so that's about 49%, if you round that up, of the whole, like, representation of the whole country and stuff. So that's kind of interesting or whatever. That doesn't seem that bipartisan and stuff to me again. So, okay. So at this point you might be asking yourself, well, okay, there's never going to be, in modern history, there's never going to be some major legislation where a significant amount of both parties vote on this legislation. And also you might be asking, like, okay, well, what's your definition of bipartisan? I'll show you. So my definition of it would be that you have over half of that Republicans or Democrats, depending on the bill, voting for this. So if you wanted that to happen, you would need, so let's do 213 of the Republicans divided by 2. So you would need about 107 of them, just Republicans, if all the Democrats voted on this bill, to have a significant majority of that and stuff. Because, as you know, and I will say this, Biden calls himself the Great Unifier. We're calling him the Great Unifier and stuff. And I typed in Biden calls for unity on YouTube, and I'll refresh the page. Did it, and then calls for unity after being sworn in and stuff. So, a president that, calls for unity, I would think would want to only sign legislation where a majority of the House and the Senate actually want to vote on the bill and stuff. So, all right, so now let's do that. Let's do that math again. So let's say you get 107 of those Republicans, and let's say that infrastructure bill had the two, let's just go back there again. So it had 221 Democrats. Let's say all of them voted on this bill again. So now we're going to add the 221 to that bill. So now you have 328 people out of the 435 voting on this bill. So now let's see how much that is. So 328 divided by the 435 total. That's a little bit over 3/4 of the entire House voting on this bill. That is what I feel is bipartisan. And so now you might be asking yourselves, well, that'll never happen. That's in the modern history, we're so divisive and stuff as a country. We'll never vote. We'll never get that amount of votes and stuff. Well, guess what? If you go to congress.gov, you can look at all the laws that have been passed and stuff. And in the sake of fairness, I'll just only focus on the current Congress, so the 117th. And so I looked at a couple of the different bills, and so this is 116. So here's the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act. This was done a little bit ago by the 117th, the current one. So now we'll look at the votes for here. So now the yeses to the nos was 415 to 14. And I guess a lot of, you can look at this, you can check and see. There's probably people that didn't vote at all, so. Names, 2 didn't vote or whatever. So let's say, okay, now let's take 415 of those votes divided by 435. So 415 divided by 435, and you have about 95% of the entire House voted on this bill. And it was this year. So this proves that you actually can have some major legislation that is bipartisan and stuff. And if you don't even like that, we can go back to the 116th Congress, when Donald Trump was still in office, as divisive as a president as he was. So now we have the John D. Dingell Conservation Management Recreation Act. This basically was just like a bill to for national parks and wildlife or conservation and stuff. So now let's look at the House votes here. So now we have 363 to 62 and stuff on those votes in the House. So let's do that math. So now we'll do 363 divided by 435. And that's about 83% of the House. So I feel pretty good and confident that that was actually a bipartisan bill that was passed versus I can't remember if I did the math for this one, but so basically it was 218. Let's go back. So it says about 228 to 205. So let's go to 2. So the amount of people there's 228 on the current infrastructure bill that voted on this. So let's do 228 divided by 435. That's just about half, and a little bit over half. And I just don't feel confident that everyone in the country was represented and happy with the result of this bill that's being passed. So I would urge, I think it's already in law and stuff like that, but I would have honestly vetoed this bill so that more Republicans and more Americans in general could have been happy with the result and stuff. But anyway, that's all I have to say about this and stuff. Conclusion is think for yourself, define your own definition of bipartisan and stuff. I'll leave all the links to these below and everything, but I did this video raw and unfiltered so I could show you that you can get all the, I'm not trying to hypnotize you, I'm not trying to influence, I'm just trying to show you the research that I did. Please, I encourage you to do your own research. Anyways, check you later.